If weight loss were a game, you'd be rage quitting every time the difficulty increases. And then you'd blame the game, because that's what most people do. Progress slows down, and instead of thinking long term, they panic. Because nobody told them the difficulty was supposed to increase. That's the part no one ever explains. In every real video game, the first levels are easy. You feel powerful, you feel in control, you're just breezing through, then the enemies start hitting harder. In fat loss, that exact moment feels like a betrayal. You were disciplined. You were consistent. You were doing everything right. And suddenly, your body doesn't respond the same way. That is the turning point. Most people interpret that moment emotionally. They think the game stopped working. What actually happened is the game finally started, and if you don't understand that shift, you will restart over and over again, thinking the problem is just your motivation. I'm going to show you what that difficulty spike actually represents inside your body, because it's not random. It's a game mechanic. You'll see why some players barely feel the scaling, while others hit the mid-game and feel like their entire build just got nerfed again. So, what is that difficulty spike? Really, it's not your metabolism shutting down, it's adaptation. In every long game, the early levels are forgiving. You make mistakes and you still move forward. In fat loss, that early progress usually comes from novelty. You start cleaning up your food choices, you exercise a little bit, then drop a bunch of water weight thinking it's all fat. The system responds fast and it feels amazing, but then the game stops being so generous. Your body recalibrates, your energy efficiency increases, your hunger signals get stronger. That's the scaling. And here's the part almost nobody talks about. Not every player enters the game with the same base stats. Some people have a higher natural energy expenditure. Some have lower appetite pressure. Some store fat less aggressively. Others are naturally more energy efficient. They get hungrier faster. They defend their stored fat harder. That's where the concept of body types comes in. You've probably heard of them: ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph type. Think of them as different starting builds, like character classes in a game. An ectomorph can make a bunch of sloppy moves and still stay lean. They seem to get away with anything. A mesomorph responds well to moderate structure, building muscle, and staying lean with a decent amount of effort. An endomorph, on the other hand, feels the difficulty scaling early and intensely. Same game, but a completely different base configuration. So when the difficulty increases, some players barely notice. Others feel like the entire match just changed overnight. And this is where most people completely misinterpret what's happening. Because instead of asking, what are my base stats? What's my character class? They ask, why am I not trying hard enough? And that question leads directly to the biggest mistake in the entire game: copying a strategy that was built for a completely different class. You see someone online staying lean while being super flexible with their diet. They miss workouts sometimes. They eat high carb meals without tracking much. They don't stress over weekends, eating whatever they want, and they stay relatively lean. But that depends entirely on their base stats. If someone is naturally more insulin sensitive, if their spontaneous activity stays high, if their appetite doesn't spike aggressively under stress, they can get away with more. They have a wider margin for error. Now, if you lean more toward the endomorph side, your body is much more energy efficient. Your appetite rebounds harder after you restrict calories. Your margin for error is way smaller. You can follow the exact same behavior as that other person, but get a completely different outcome. And when someone with endomorphic traits copies the flexible strategy of someone with ectomorphic traits, that difficulty spike feels absolutely brutal. It's because you were playing an ectomorph strategy inside an endomorph body. That's not a motivation problem, that's a configuration mismatch. And once that mismatch exists, every single difficulty spike feels personal. It feels like the game is targeting you, like it's unfair, but it's not. You just never optimized your build for your specific class. I learned this the hard way, and at my heaviest, I was around 300 pounds. And when the difficulty scaled up, I did what most players do. I tried to grind harder. I created bigger calorie deficits. I put more and more pressure on myself. I assumed that sheer effort would overpower the game mechanic. It didn't. What I didn't understand at the time was this: some players can loosen their structure and stay stable. I couldn't. If my structure slipped, even just slightly, the scaling hit me fast and hard. My margin for error was tiny. I was running the wrong build for my stats. And once I stopped trying to overpower the system and started configuring my strategy around my own metabolic profile, the entire campaign changed. It got predictable. The spikes in difficulty were still there, but I knew how to handle them. I was prepared. That's exactly why I created my free guide. 7 steps that got me out of obesity. It breaks down the exact structure I had to build when effort alone wasn't working anymore. No fantasy builds, no strategies that only work for a different body type. It's the real, practical approach that finally worked for me. And if you're not even sure what class you fall into, I show a simple trick in the guide that helps you figure out your body type in just a few seconds. Because once you understand your base stats, you stop guessing and you stop rage quitting. The guide is completely free. The link is right there in the description below. If weight loss were a game, it wouldn't reward who suffers the most. It would reward the player who understands the mechanics and the overall strategy. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep reacting emotionally to the difficulties scaling instead of preparing for it. So stop trying to overpower the game, learn your class, optimize your build, and play your character properly. That's how you win the long campaigns.